There's so much that one can talk about due to the abundance of events happening in the world. This is going to be episode 55. Can you believe it? Episode 55, half of 100 episodes. Having been on vacation for the last 7 weeks, 7 weeks out of New York, 7 weeks out of America. We've been to Greece, spent time with our family there, my beautiful sister, my nephew, Mihut, who is the most beautiful baby anyone has ever seen, and funny and hysterical, to then going to England for the first time in London. I had been to England before, to the southern part, but it was my first time in London. Love it, love it. And then the countryside. We went from the west part of England to the east, to London, a little bit more south, for another emotional, beautiful experience, which was the wedding of Jeremy's nephew, Noah and Natalia. Great times. Family time again becomes more and more evident of how important it is, especially after dealing with the isolation and the separation from people for the last 2.5 years. Back home, the last location before coming back to New York, as I said, was London. We went to see a friend of mine, Patrick O'Kane, whom I did a movie with, scary movie with, a long time ago. He played my husband. He was in the play To Kill a Mockingbird in the West End, on the West End, in the West End. I'm not sure how you say it, which is the equivalent of Broadway in London. Saw the show. Before the show started, the announcement was made that the Queen had passed. And to see and to be in those chairs as the announcement was made that this Queen that had reigned for 70 years and was a constant in the English people's lives, and that she had passed, was very powerful. To be in that community of people in the theater, I think that's when I realized the missing of the country one is from, especially when I refer to myself. That's when I miss being in the country where I am from, where I was born. I miss the sense of having the comfort of being surrounded by family members. I miss the comfort and the understanding that we share through that. I miss the cultural understanding. I miss the communication and the common language of the same background. I feel that there's a part of me when I am outside of the United States that becomes more stimulated, that becomes more alive and becomes more fearless than when I'm back here. And I'm starting to recognize the differences more and more as I get older. Not to say that I'm not grateful to be in the United States of America, not to say that I'm not grateful to my parents for having sacrificed all that they have sacrificed to bring us here for a better life. But I think with everything that is going on in the world and with everything that's scary that's happening here, politically, socially, culturally, the realization of the moment, the present moment, the now moment becomes much more relevant. To watch those English people in the theater take a moment of silence and bow their heads for something, for someone's passing that they all could relate to, was that communal feeling that I think I had been craving for a long time and I hadn't really paid attention to, or I wasn't so aware of the huge need that I have for it. I was watching myself in my behavior, as I do as an actor, as an acting teacher. You usually take x-rays and make notes in the moment of having some feelings come up or exterior observations, inner emotions bubbling up. You take a snapshot of those because it's an automatic training, because as actor you have to train to be doing those things in order to have a repertoire that's going to be abundant with all colors and nuances that you might use for the characters if you're lucky to play them for the roles on stage or on film, or even as a teacher. You want to evolve as a human being, as an actor. You want to keep performing in order to be able to then be across the students and have them be courageous enough to get up in front of you and challenge themselves and overcome their fears and obstacles, to reach up and to reach up and be as great as the roles that they're being asked to play. That feeling that I had in the theater of that community grieving for the Queen of England, and I'm not going into the political backstory of what she means for some people who are against the royals. That's not what this episode is about. It's about the feeling that I am understanding to be and to have that is different when I am outside of the United States than when I am in the United States. A confirmation to that point happened today. I made a little posting on Facebook. It was about my return to watch a session at the Actor Studio in New York. I haven't been to the Actor Studio for the last 2.5 years due to the pandemic. All of the motives, pretty much that's what the motives were. But then the underneath motives, I think, were always the fact that I feel that there's an unfairness that goes on in relation to how some people are being treated there in comparison to other people being treated, as it is with any place, with any group of people, with any institution, with anything that you can think of. But at the same time, knowing now and being aware of those different feelings that I have about myself as a human being when I'm here and when I'm outside of the United States, I'm starting to question myself if it has anything to do with what I thought it to be, which is, does it have to do with other people making me feel a certain way, treating me differently? Then maybe it's not true. Maybe it has only to do with my feeling of belonging, or my feeling of being a foreigner, my feeling of not being fully at home, not feeling fully like I am comfortable in my own skin, the same way that I feel that I am when I travel back to Romania, where I'm from, or even in Greece, where my sister lives, or England, which I had not much to do with before, but I felt much more relaxed in that European environment. Even Egypt. So I'm not just talking about Europe, even Kuwait, which is such a different country than what I'm used to, with such a rich and beautiful culture, different than my culture. I just feel that this place, for some reason, doesn't allow me to fully relax and be within my own skin. There's a fear always of disappointing. There's a fear of doing the right thing. There's a fear of saying the right thing. And I don't think that it comes due to others' impression or others' comportment towards me. I think it has to do with me and my relationship to this place, my relationship to the people of this new world, America. And that experience I had in a more specific way. And it happened at the actor studio where I went for the first time in 2 years and a half, as I said before. I got up this morning and I'm still on the time of Europe. So I get up without having to set an alarm, get up earlier than my usual sleeping training from before. I got up and I said to myself this morning, being that is the first session of the new season of the actor studio, of the opening, I am going to go. And as soon as I said that to myself, this, I don't know what to call it because I don't want to give it a name that's not, care nu este corespunzător la ceea ce simt. Nu vreau să-i dau un nume care să fie mai exagerat decât ceea ce simt și mi se întâmplă când mă gândesc, hai să merg la actor studio în dimineața asta sau astăzi. Nu știu dacă e frică, I don't know if it's fear that sensation is that I feel. I don't know if it's something inside of me that wants the actor studio to feel that I want to feel like I belong to that place, even though I am a member of the actor studio and I'm deserving to be there. I deserve to be there. I am there. I became a member on my first audition. But somewhere inside of me, I feel like I've been trying so hard and for so many years to push my way in, to be part of the group, to be part of the smaller group, the group that's doing the shows always, the group that's being paid attention to differently. And this is only my opinion. Again, I have the right to my opinion and to my feelings. I'm not saying that that's the version of another person that would see this that I'm talking about probably completely different, but the way that I see it and the way that I feel it is, there were 20 some years, 20 years, 2002 I became a member, so we're 20 years of membership, 20 years of going to almost every session, getting up every time I had an opportunity, because I was craving so much to learn. I wanted so much to be worthy of that stage, of that sacred stage, and to belong. 22 years ago, young, naive, innocent, fears on top of everything else, afraid of everything, even scared to raise my hand to actually ask a question. So I have overcome a lot of those obstacles. I have overcome a lot of fears in the 20 years since I have become a member. But today something was triggered inside of me that brought me right back to that time. It brought me right back to that particular time where I had my hand on my lap so many times, and when the moderator would turn around to ask for the opinion of the other members who happened to be in the audience to speak about the work of the actors who had signed up for session. As I said, I made my way to the actor studio. Not just physically, it was difficult to do because of all the crimes and everything that's taking place in New York. There was fear of going in the subway, but then I got my courage up and I got on the subway and I went to Manhattan, to the West Side, where the actor studio is. For I don't know how many years the location that he has, it's been there, but they're celebrating the 75th year anniversary since it was founded. So I made myself there and I was talking to myself and still giving myself that talk that I needed to keep on going and to reassure myself that everything is going to be okay. I'm not going to feel like I don't belong. I'm not going to feel awkward. It is my place. It is my right to be there. I have the right. I've earned it. I've done the work. I've taken in the teachings. I continue to be open to the process of understanding, acting, and teaching and learning from older members and learning from the work of the younger members. So I'm not doing that closing of myself, and then I ask to be part of something. So I feel like I've given, I've given, I've given. And in the process of giving to myself a lot of times, to find the strength that at the time, 22 years ago, I was missing. The confidence was nowhere to be found. The fears were overtaken everything, not only just my being, my mind, my heart, my soul, everything. So I've made a lot of advances in reaching towards my potential. And I still go there, and I have this thing in my being that feels like an outsider when I get to be there. Awkward behavior, awkward conversations with some people, not with everyone. I've had colleagues that are friends of so many years and I respect and I adore, and the conversations seem to be fluid. But some other awkward moments still continue to happen. And I walk out of that place and I am unsure of myself and who I am as a human being, as a person. And I feel like I have to start all over again. The work. Once I get further and further away from it, I start to be myself again. Today, what happened was I was so enthusiastic and eager to get there. As soon as I got closer within the distance of seeing the actor studio on 44th Street, and I got closer to it and I was approaching it and I saw it, and I was so proud that that I have this opportunity to be able to be one of the people to walk into this place and to have the door open and to have the name being written down when you walk in, because they only allow members for this first session. Especially they don't allow any guests. The members can bring for the other sessions during the year. And I got there and I was so excited, and I opened the door. My name was being asked. It was written down, welcome. I saw some people that were very welcoming, nice to see you. It was hard to recognize most of them because we all have the masks. It's still mandatory, which thank God it is, until I guess there's going to be different. It's going to be less of a mandatory, and it's going to be left up to people to decide what they want to do. But then I got upstairs into the theater. We were being very quiet while we were walking up the stairs, which is out of respect for the actors who are already on stage working. And the work at the actor studio doesn't begin with when the audience comes in or the members are seated in the audience, but it's usually, it starts before. So the silence and the respect with speaking in a lower voice happens prior to that. And I walk up the stairs and I'm seeing all the pictures. One of the pictures of the show that I was in, the Cherry Orchard. Others are the famous Lee Strasberg. Some others downstairs of Marilyn Monroe, Paul Newman, Al Pacino. So many I can't even think of all of them right now. So you walk up the stairs and you're being quiet. The actors are already doing their preparation. As I said, the scene begins before the people, the other members, the audience is seated. They prepare moments or half hour, an hour before that. So we walk. I actually went to the usual seat. So it's the middle row, but it's on the left side of the room. So as you're looking down at the stage, I'm on the left side in the middle space. There's middle space of seats, and then there's the left side, and then there's the right side. And then you have the moderators. Today, the moderator happened to be Ellen Burstyn and Alec Baldwin. They were both there, and Bo, who's one of the artistic directors Alec Baldwin and Ellen Burstyn are the co-presidents, and both the artistic director. It was good to see them. It was good to see them after such a long time. Then they sat, and Ellen Burstyn announced the first scene. I'm choosing this filter for this live because it's so fitting to what I'm experiencing right now and what I'm feeling. I am, for the first time, returning back from a session at the actor studio. I haven't been to the actor studio during the pandemic time. For most of it, it was closed, and the meetings, the sessions were done online. I haven't attended any of those. And this is the first time in 2.5 years that I've actually been. I was just at the actor studio in New York City. The actor studio that this year is celebrating 75 years since it was founded by the great director Elia Kazan, artistic director Lee Strasberg, who came right after and remained the artistic director until his death. The same stage were actors from Al Pacino to James Dean to Ellen Burstyn, who happened to be the moderator for today's session. Being back in that place, first of all, before I got to the place, like I said, having not been there for a long time, I had to build up the courage this morning when I woke up to make myself go. And that feeling I've had for my entire membership, which is now 22 years since I've become a member of this prestigious institution and proud to be a member of. The buildup of the courage to bring myself to go there doesn't have to do with my physical strength, because from where I live, it's within half an hour by subway and then walking through Manhattan over on the west side of it, where the location of the actor studio is. But it's always been this inner conflict that I've experienced going there, because I think it has to do with my insecurity of, do I belong? Do I belong? Yes, they made me a member of the actor studio. I must belong. After auditioning, I got in. But at the same time, somewhere in the back of my mind, that question still comes up. It doesn't matter how many years I've been on the stage and I've fallen on that stage, and it doesn't matter how many teaching I've been able to gain from being a member of the actor studio and working as an actress, to then be able to implement those learnings and those teachings into teaching. Even today, where mortality was slapped in our faces with the pandemic, when you would think that I would be more confident about the fact that I do belong, I am a lifetime member of the actor studio, much deserved. I still have that inner voice that sneaks up on me, questioning, do I belong? Getting to the actor studio, I was mumbling to myself all the way to when I got in front of the building. Thank God I'm wearing a mask most of the time, because people cannot see that I'm actually talking to myself. To bring myself to say, enter into this place, hold your head up high, be excited about this year of the celebration of the actor studio, and look forward to continued learning from watching other actors on stage today, in today's session. I get there, Bo, who's one of the artistic directors, was there. He made the announcement in the beginning, welcoming everybody back, being that this was the first session, they only allow members to go. They don't allow any guests, as they do with the other coming sessions.
And then I looked at the list that's being printed for years and years, the same way with the names of the actors, the scene they're going to be working on, or the moment of exploration they're going to be working on. And watching it and seeing it, it was as if I was there for the first time. It took me back to when I first got in, some 22 years ago. And that scared, naive, afraid of everything girl from then was sneaking up, and sneaking up. So after the two sessions, after the first session was over, the tradition is that the moderator, Ellen Burston, is the one that's going to ask them to be specific about what they were working on. After they talk about what they were attempting to do, then she opens it up to the people, the rest of the members who were watching, me being one of them there today, and asks for feedback to the work that the actors had just done. And when I went to raise my hand, because a memory struck me of the MFA program that I went to before becoming a member of the Actor Studio, the same MFA program in the same class with Bradley Cooper that I talk about all the time. A memory from one of the classes from theater history with one professor. His name is Coco, I believe. Remembering that he said during one of our classes when we were working on Strindberg that he does not like to call his characters in his plays characters because that limits those people in his plays to be one dimensional. That puts a rigid one personality and doesn't allow for the actors to be able to interpret them as humans when they're attempting to portray humanity in those roles. And what he said, and I remember that, is that he likes to call his characters souls rather than characters because he wants to take away that facade that comes with the word character. That was what came to me today after watching one of the sessions because the two first actors in the first session were working on a play by Strindberg. So I raised my hand and I said that I was so grateful. I was actually just speaking out all of the things that I was feeling on my walk up to the Actor Studio. And I said, this brings me back to the years before I became a member when I was a student at the Actor Studio MFA program. So my suggestion to those actors was that they could just ease on, stop trying so much, because I felt that there was a tension that they were both dealing with in trying to be those characters. And they even mentioned the fact that the character doesn't think this, or the character would not do that. The character is this. And when I said that, I was at the same time being very grateful for the fact that I have this opportunity to be able to give my feedback because I am a member. I think I repeated myself in wanting to let them know that what they're doing, their willingness to be on that stage and their willingness to try to work towards fulfilling these roles was already a huge result. But I must have said it in a different way because Ellen stopped me and she said that the comment was directorial. And directorial comments in these kinds of acting sessions at the Actor Studio are not welcome because this is not an actor-director session. This is just an acting session. And the work and the feedback to the work comes from the actor's perspective. But I wasn't really clear about what she meant when she said that. So all of a sudden I became this bowing little girl who was being told that she did something wrong. And it just affected me so much. And I felt like it took me so many years, and it still takes me so many years to raise up and to not bow and apologize for who I am and what I am. And even if the work is bad, don't apologize for it. take the lessons out of it that can bring you forward into the next time when you can fare just a little bit better. But that comment where she said that's a comment that's directorial and that's not okay to give to the actors hit me. It just hit me so hard. And I don't want to say that it has anything to do with Ellen Burstyn. Of course, it doesn't have to do with Ellen Burstyn. It has to do with something in me that I allow to be triggered that took me back to that I'm bowing again. I did something wrong. I wish I wouldn't have said what I said, even though I wasn't clear what the comment was. When she went to comment herself to give the feedback, which is what the moderator does at the end of everybody giving the feedback, she gives her input, which is always brilliant. And I felt that her words were what I was trying to capture in what I was giving the actors. But of course, I don't have the same words which Ellen Burstyn has after a lifetime of a career as an actor, as a moderator, as one of the co-presidents of the Actor Studio. So I said to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and I'm going to ask her because I want to have clarity. Clarity is one of the most important things for learning. So I went to her and I said, Ellen, can you please make me aware of the statement that I made out of all the other statements, because there were more than one, that you consider to be directorial? And she said to me, it was when it is when you tell the actors what not to do. That's considered to be a directorial comment, and that's not accepted. But I don't remember saying that. And maybe I did say it, but I don't remember saying it, or I don't remember that I intentionally wanted to tell them what not to do. I was trying to just focus on the fact that if they don't put in their minds that they're playing a character, going back to what Strindberg was saying, and that if you just leave yourself alone and don't imagine you're playing a character, but allow your soul and your being to be in the moment of how you are feeling and what you are doing in this session, to be sufficient without putting the expectations on yourself to be the character, that would release you from the tension, that would release you from the expectations, and it will not allow for a relaxed moment to moment discovery. So cool. After not being there for 2.5 years, again, I can't believe it. I was afraid, I think, and the reason why it took me so long to go back, and I had that pushing myself this morning, you better go, you better go, you better go, because I can't tell my students to go against what their fear is, and then I don't do it myself. I don't want to be a hypocrite. So going there today, I felt so proud of myself, raising my hand to make a comment after 2.5 years of not having been there was such a courageous act, I thought, on my part. And then again, I just felt like I was told that I did something wrong to doing this live, because I don't want to forget the experience that I had, and I wanted to have it as an introduction to what the next episode on Hey Stella podcast is going to be. So how do I feel now? I just want to tell myself that I am so proud that I was able to go. I was able to raise my hand. Where when I first became a member of the Actor Studio 22 years ago, I know I keep mentioning this because it seems like a century ago, I was so afraid to even bring my arm physically from my lap to let them know that I have a question. So the fact that I am here today after 22 years, and I'm able to do the things that I was so afraid of doing 22 years ago, but at the same time, I'm still feeling that scared little girl creep up, is a positive thing. I don't view it as a negative thing, where 22 years ago, I would have seen it as a negative thing. I would have gone home, I would have blamed myself for maybe not articulating that what I wanted to give to the actors to be of help the correct way. I could have done it better. I would have beaten myself up over it. But today I'm not. I feel that my achievements over the last 22 years are so much more important than I even imagined them to be this morning when I was walking to the Actor Studio and seeing the other members and colleagues a family of artists that I was able to be part of, and I am able to be part of, coming from a small little village from Romania, shy and afraid and apologetic, bowing my head for everything that I was and everything that I was trying to do, to now taking someone saying that comment was not well articulated, I'm paraphrasing, learning to take that and to allow it to teach me in my process of my life as an actress and as a teacher. I am not sad about it. I am no longer putting myself down because I did not say the way that I was supposed to say the comment, but I'm taking it in a way that's positive. I'm taking it in a way that's going to help me to think a little bit more specific in the way that I make a comment. Even though somewhere deep inside, I don't think that the comment was directorial, but that's okay. That's one part of me that's thinking that. The other part is saying, cherish any moments that you have at the actor studio. Cherish all of it. All of the moments that I was bad on the stage, all of the moments that I was brilliant on the stage, because that's what life is. We never get to a point where everything is going to be perfect. We're never going to get to a point where we're going to be satisfied with who we are and what we do. We're always going to have that little girl, that scared little girl that's going to creep up in the most loving way, which is what makes us humans, which is what makes us flawed human beings that people can relate to if we have the opportunity to be on stage or if we have the opportunity to teach. By experiencing those scary feelings and embracing them rather than shove them to the side and say, oh my God, that was horrific. How could I have not been able to speak more clearly? How could I have not been able to be more consistent in the way that I wanted to make my comment be heard? Yeah, it was a great day. So I'm glad that I was able to get myself physically and emotionally and psychologically ready to go. Whew, I did it. Yay. Actor studio.